A millionaire saw his son's nanny celebrating her birthday alone, and what he did brought her to tears. Before we start the story, tell us in the comments, what city are you watching from? And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Luna Parker placed the small cake on the kitchen table as if it were a treasure. It was just a bakery treat, the kind wrapped in cheap plastic, but to her, it meant the whole world. She pulled a crooked candle out of her pocket, something she found in the emergency drawer, stuck it in the pink frosting, and sat at the huge white marble table that seemed like it was never used. Her boss's apartment, Derek Campbell's, was luxurious, quiet, and intimidating. But that night, the kitchen felt like it was hers alone. She sighed, lit the candle with a borrowed lighter, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Luna. 28 years old." A crooked candle and not a single present. So glamorous, she closed her eyes, ready to make a wish. But before she could blow the candle out, a chill ran down her spine. A strange feeling, like someone was watching her. Slowly, she opened her eyes, and her heart nearly jumped out of her chest. There he was, standing in the kitchen doorway. Derek Campbell, her boss. Impeccable suit, serious expression, leather briefcase in hand, the man looked like a statue of ice that suddenly decided to come to life at the most embarrassing moment possible. Luna froze in her chair. She swallowed hard. "Mr. Campbell." Her voice cracked. "I was just, testing the fire alarm system." His eyes slowly moved down to the little cake with the lit candle. The silence in the kitchen was so heavy she could hear her own heart beating fast. For a second, she imagined the worst. Would she be fired? Kicked out for daring to use the kitchen to blow out a birthday candle? But then he spoke. That deep, firm voice that usually intimidated executives in boardrooms echoed in an unexpected way. "May I sit with you?" Luna blinked. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Did she hear that right? "What?" she stammered. "May sit with you?" Derek repeated, as if he were proposing a company merger instead of offering to share a cheap piece of cake. Luna swallowed hard again. Sure, she mumbled nervously. "But just so you know, you'll have to share the cake, and no judging." He pulled out a chair and sat next to her. The contrast was almost comical. Derek Campbell, the cold and distant millionaire, side by side with the clumsy, funny nanny, in front of a tiny cake with a candle already melting sideways. The silence lasted a few seconds. Luna tried to break it. "So, it's my birthday, 28 years old, and guess what? 0 gifts. Not even a pair of worn-out socks." Derek turned his face toward her. His eyes were serious, but there was something there, an unexpected curiosity. "How old?" he asked. 28, she repeated, folding her arms. "And don't start with those motivational speeches like, age is just a number." He didn't answer. He just kept looking at the candle. Finally, in a low tone, he said, "That's going to change." Luna laughed nervously, still trying to hide the fear from being caught in such a personal moment. "It's going to change?" she repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Don't tell me you're giving me a confidentiality agreement as a present, because honestly, one's enough in my life." No smile, no joke brought even a slight curve to his lips. Derek stood up, adjusted his jacket, and picked up his briefcase. "Tomorrow," he said simply, and he left the kitchen with firm steps, like he had just made the most important decision of his life. Luna stayed there, seated, staring at the door. The candle's flame flickered in front of her, and her breathing was still fast. "Tomorrow," she murmured in disbelief. This man talks like a movie trailer. Tomorrow what? Money's going to rain down? He'll show up with a 3-tier cake? She laughed to herself, nervous but deep down, curious. She blew out the candle, took a bite of the cake and thought, I bet it's going to be something so strange I'll never forget. What she didn't know was that she was right. The next day, Derek Campbell would show up with a gift. A gift so unexpected and unusual that it would forever change the way she saw him. The next morning, Luna woke up earlier than usual. Not because she wanted to, but because her mind just wouldn't stop wondering what Derek meant with that mysterious tomorrow. Would he really give her a present? Or was it just another one of those cryptic phrases rich men like to say to sound interesting? She went downstairs in the mansion still in her pajamas, dragging her slippers across the cold marble floor. The house was as silent as ever. She walked into the kitchen yawning, her messy hair looking like a bird's nest on top of her head. She opened the fridge, looking for the orange juice, when she heard firm footsteps behind her. She turned around quickly and almost dropped the bottle from her hands. Derek was standing there, impeccable gray suit, hair slicked back, standing tall, and in his hands, something small and green. Luna blinked several times, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. It was a tiny plant, a little succulent in a white pot, and worst of all, it had a huge, ridiculous blue ribbon tied around it, the kind that looked like it was made by a 5-year-old during arts and crafts. For a second, Luna was completely silent. Then, laughter burst out of her like a confetti bomb. Oh my goodness. Luna doubled over, holding her stomach as she laughed. Is this a birthday gift, or an offering for some secret millionaire ritual? Derek stood still, holding the plant with the same seriousness he'd used to sign a $1 million contract. His expression didn't change, but Luna could swear she saw a slight blush creeping up his cheeks. It's a gift, Derek said, handing the plant to her. Luna wiped the tears from laughing and gently took the pot, still grinning from ear to ear. Really? A succulent? With a blue bow that looks like it survived a hurricane? Derek adjusted his tie, clearly uncomfortable. He cleared his throat before answering. It was the only living thing I could find at the flower shop that was open at 7 in the morning, he admitted, avoiding her gaze. The clerk suggested roses, but I thought that was too much. Luna bit her lip to keep from laughing again. So you picked a plant that looks like a toy cactus. That totally makes sense. Succulents are resilient. Derek crossed his arms as if defending a business presentation. They don't need much water. They're practical. Wow. Luna pretended to be impressed. You really know how to make a woman feel special. Hey Luna, I brought you something that barely needs attention, just like you. Derek opened his mouth, clearly unsure how to respond. For the first time since Luna started working there, he looked completely lost. That's not what I meant, he murmured, rubbing the back of his neck. Luna set the plant on the counter and smiled, this time more warmly. I'm just teasing, she said, softening her tone. Actually, it's sweet, in a strange and totally you kind of way. But it's sweet. Derek finally looked at her. There was something different in his eyes. It wasn't the usual coldness or that calculated distance he kept from everyone. It was curiosity. Maybe even something more. Why did you do this? Luna asked, tilting her head. I mean, really, you barely talked to me except about Sam. And suddenly you show up with a gift. Derek hesitated. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. He seemed to be fighting an inner battle. I don't know, he finally admitted, voice quieter. Something about you is different. Luna felt her heart skip a beat. She wasn't expecting that, or the sincerity in his voice. Different how? She asked, trying to keep her tone light. Different like, she wears flamingo print slippers in my house, or different like, she's not afraid to mess with me? Derek almost smiled. Almost. Both. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was new, something Luna didn't quite know how to read. Derek cleared his throat and stepped back, like he suddenly remembered something important. I have to go. Meeting at 8, he said, returning to his usual professional tone. Of course. Luna nodded, still holding the pot. Thanks for the succulent. I'm going to name it Frederico. Derek stopped at the door and turned slightly. Frederico? Yes, he looks like a Frederico. Serious, formal, but with a ridiculous bow that ruins everything. At this time, Derek actually smiled. It was quick, almost invisible, but Luna saw it, and it made her happier than she expected. He left the kitchen without another word, and Luna stood there, looking at the little plant like it was the most precious thing in the world. Well, Frederico, looks like you and I are going to be great friends, she murmured, gently touching one of the leaves. She placed the pot on the kitchen windowsill, where the morning sun was gently shining. She was about to head upstairs to get Sam ready, when something on the floor caught her eye. It was a folder. Black leather, with the initials DC engraved in gold. Luna frowned. Derek must have dropped it without noticing. She picked it up to bring it to his office, but as she lifted it, a few papers slipped out. Oh no, she muttered, kneeling to gather them. Then her eyes landed on a specific document. The words at the top made her freeze. Petition for Shared Custody Modification, Samuel Derek Campbell. Luna read the title twice to make sure she was seeing it right. Shared custody? Sam? Her eyes moved quickly through the text. Names came up. Elizabeth Monroe, Sam's maternal grandmother. Legal arguments, phrases like emotional absence of the father and unsuitable environment for healthy child development. Luna's heart sank. Was Derek about to lose custody of Sam? or at least part of it. Suddenly, a lot of things started to make sense. Derek's constant tension, the way he avoided staying home too long, the way he sometimes looked at his son like he was afraid of doing something wrong. Luna quickly gathered the papers and put them back in the folder. Her hands were trembling slightly. She shouldn't have seen that. It wasn't her business. But now that she knew, she couldn't just forget it. She climbed the stairs, holding the folder tightly, her mind spinning in 1,000 directions. She knocked on Derek's office door, but there was no answer. He had already left. She placed the folder right in the center of his desk, where he would see it as soon as he came back. As she turned to leave, she looked out the office window. Down by the mansion entrance, Derek was getting into the black car. He looked tired. His shoulders slumped in a way she had never seen before. Luna sighed. "Something's going on here," she murmured to herself. "And I have a feeling things are about to get a lot more complicated." She left the office and gently closed the door. In the hallway, she heard Sam's voice calling from his room. "Luna? Luna, can you help me find my blue dinosaur?" She took a deep breath, pushing the troubling thoughts away, and put a smile back on her face. "Coming, Sam. I bet he's hiding under the bed again." But as she walked to the boy's room, the image of those documents wouldn't leave her mind. When she entered the room, Sam was on his knees, reaching under the bed with one arm stretched out. "He has to be here," Sam mumbled, his voice muffled. "I always leave him under my pillow, but he ran away again." Luna smiled and knelt down beside him. "Dinosaurs don't run away, Sam. They don't have fast legs. Yours probably got stuck somewhere." After a few minutes of searching, Luna found the toy wedged between the headboard and the wall. "Found the runaway," she announced, lifting the blue dinosaur like it was a trophy. Sam jumped with joy and hugged the toy to his chest. "Thanks, Luna. You're the best." She ruffled his hair gently. "Of course I am. Now go brush your teeth and get changed. We're doing something fun today." "What is it?" Sam's eyes lit up. "It's a surprise, but it involves paint, paper, and a lot of mess." Sam ran to the bathroom, excited. Luna stayed there for a moment, looking around the room. It was perfectly neat, full of expensive, educational toys. But something was missing. It lacked life. It lacked mess. It lacked the presence of a father. She sighed, remembering the papers again. Derek was fighting to keep his son close, and Sam probably didn't even know. Luna made a decision right then. She wasn't going to say anything about what she had seen. It wasn't the time. But she would do everything she could to show that this house, no matter how cold it looked, had love. And that Derek, no matter how distant he seemed, deserved a chance. Later, in the living room, Luna spread large sheets of paper on the floor, along with jars of paint in every color. Sam was already wearing an old t-shirt, ready for the mess. "Today we're doing handprint paintings," Luna announced, dipping her hand into the red paint and pressing it onto the paper. "We're going to create a whole zoo." Sam laughed and copied her, choosing the green paint. "I'm making a giant dragon." "Dragons don't live in zoos, Sam. They do in mine." Luna laughed and kept painting. That's when she heard the front door open. Derek was back earlier than expected. She looked at her paint-covered hands, at Sam, all messy in green and yellow, and at the living room that looked like a colorful tornado had passed through. "Oh no," she murmured. Derek appeared in the doorway, still in his suit, leather folder in hand. He stopped at the entrance and stared at the scene in front of him. Luna braced herself for a scolding, but then had an idea. "Mr. Campbell, glad you're here," she said, standing up and leaving red paint marks on the floor. "We need one more person for the project." Derek blinked. "Project?" "Yes, we're creating a modern art mural." Luna picked up a brush and offered it to him. "Sam's doing the dragons, I'm working on the elephant, and you can do, I don't know, something serious and executive, like a pie chart." Sam dropped the paintbrush and ran over to his father, grabbing the hem of his jacket with paint-stained hands. "Daddy, you have to make a shark, please." Derek looked at his son, then at Luna, and finally at the paintbrush in her hand. He seemed to be having an internal battle. "I have work," he said, hesitating. "Work can wait 10 minutes. Luna insisted, still holding out the brush. "Come on, Mr. Campbell. Show us you know how to have fun." For a moment, Luna thought he'd refuse and head straight to his office. But then something unexpected happened. Derek let out a long sigh, took off his jacket, placed his briefcase on the couch, and took the brush from Luna's hand. 10 minutes, he said, kneeling next to Sam. Luna had to bite her lip not to scream with joy. Derek dipped the brush into the blue paint and started drawing something that was supposed to be a shark, but looked more like a sausage with teeth. "Daddy, that shark looks weird," Sam said, trying not to laugh. "It's a stylized shark," Derek answered, serious. Luna couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. "Stylized? That looks like a killer sausage." Even Derek gave a slight smile. It was brief, but it was there. The three of them kept painting, and for the first time, Luna saw Derek relax. He laughed at Sam's jokes, asked silly questions about colors, and even let his son paste star on the sleeve of his white shirt. When the 10 minutes were up, Derek stood up and looked at his hands covered in blue paint. He seemed surprised with himself. "Thank you, Luna," he said, his voice softer. "For what?" Genuinely curious. Derek looked at Sam, who was now drawing a giant yellow sun in the corner of the paper. "For this," he said, gesturing toward the colorful mess. For making him smile like that. Luna felt a tightness in her chest. In that moment, she understood that Derek wasn't cold by choice. He simply didn't know how to connect. And he was trying to learn. "You're welcome," she said, smiling. "But next time, you'll have to improve that shark. It looks more like an inflatable pool fish." Derek shook his head, almost laughing, and went upstairs to change clothes. The rest of the day went by quickly. Luna made dinner, helped Sam with his bath, and tidied up the living room, which still had paint splatters in some corners. That night, after putting Sam to bed, Luna went down to the living room with a cup of tea. She sat on the couch and picked up the Uno deck Sam had left on the coffee table. She was shuffling the cards absent-mindedly when Derek came down the stairs. He was in casual clothes now, sweatpants and a gray t-shirt. Luna had never seen him like that. He looked more human, less like a corporate robot. "Want to play?" Luna offered, holding up the deck. Derek hesitated, but ended up sitting in the armchair next to her. "I haven't played Uno in years. It's not rocket science. You just discard cards." Luna started dealing. "And just so you know, I'm unbeatable." They played a few rounds in silence. Luna kept winning, and Derek looked genuinely focused, like he was in a business negotiation. "You take this very seriously," Luna said, laying down a +4. Derek picked up 4 cards without complaint. "I take everything seriously," I noticed. Luna played another card. "But sometimes it's okay to just be human. Mess up the shark, lose at Uno, let life happen." Derek looked at her, curious. "Do you always say what you think?" "Always. It's both a flaw and a virtue." Then Luna, without really thinking, blurted out loud while looking at her cards. "Playing with you is like playing with a soulless robot. Seriously, even Federico has more emotion, and he's a plant." Silence. Luna froze. She slowly lifted her eyes and saw Derek looking straight at her. Not angry, not cold. He was laughing. It wasn't a loud laugh, but it was real. His shoulders shook slightly, and he covered his mouth with his hand, trying to keep it together. "Soulless robot?" Derek repeated, still laughing. Luna turned red. I didn't mean to say that out loud, but you did. It slipped." Derek stopped laughing, but the smile stayed. "That's funny. Sam said something similar last week." "Sam called you a robot?" "He said I was like those action figures that can't bend their arms." Luna bit her lip, trying not to laugh. But she couldn't help it. The laugh came out, and soon both of them were laughing together. When the laughter finally died down, Derek rested his elbows on his knees and looked at Luna with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You're right," he said quietly. "I'm kind of a robot sometimes." "Kind of? Totally." Luna replied, but there was warmth in her voice. Derek smiled again, and in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't just boss and employee anymore. It was something else. Something Luna couldn't quite name yet, but it made her heart feel a little lighter. They went back to the game, and this time, Derek seemed more relaxed. He made bad jokes about the cards, complained whenever Luna played a +2, and even celebrated when he finally won a round. When the clock struck midnight, Luna yawned and stood up. "I think it's time to sleep. Tomorrow Sam's going to want to make more colorful messes." Derek nodded and put the cards back in the box. "Thank you, Luna, for today." "You already said that," she smiled. "But you're welcome. Again." She went upstairs and, before entering her room, looked back. Derek was still in the living room, staring at the art wall they had made earlier. He gently touched the poorly drawn shark and smiled to himself. Luna entered the room with a smile on her face. Maybe, just maybe, that cold and distant man was beginning to melt. In the days that followed, something changed in the house's routine. Derek started coming home earlier from work. Not very early, but just enough to have dinner with Sam before bedtime. Luna noticed he was making a real effort to be present, even if he still seemed awkward during family moments. That Thursday, Derek came home at 6:30. Luna was in the living room helping Sam with a dinosaur puzzle when she heard the front door open. "Daddy!" Sam dropped the pieces and ran to his father, who picked him up. "Hey, champ, how was your day?" "Luna taught me how to make paper airplanes. Look." Sam pointed to several planes scattered around the room, some hanging from the chandelier. Derek looked at Luna, who gave a shrug with an innocent smile. "Contemporary art. It's an installation about freedom and movement." "Of course it is," Derek replied, in a tone Luna could swear was disguised amusement. "Daddy, are you going to eat dinner with us tonight?" Sam asked hopefully. "I am. Actually, I'm going to make dinner tonight." Luna raised her eyebrows, surprised. "You? Cook? It's not a big deal. I'm just going to heat up a lasagna." Derek set Sam down. "I have a frozen one in the fridge." Luna crossed her arms, skeptical. "You know how to use the oven, right?" "Of course I do." Derek loosened his tie. "I'm not completely useless in the kitchen, if you say so." Luna muttered, turning back to the puzzle with Sam. Derek walked into the kitchen with confident steps. Luna stayed in the living room but kept an ear out. She heard the fridge door open, something being torn, and then the microwave beeping. A few minutes later, she heard Derek mumble something unclear. Then more beeping. Then more muttering. Luna looked at Sam. "I think I better go see what's going on." When she entered the kitchen, she found Derek standing in front of the microwave, staring at the display with a confused expression. "What's the problem?" Luna asked, coming closer. "I put the lasagna in to heat up, but the time isn't moving." Derek pressed more buttons. "This thing must be broken." Luna peeked through the microwave window and held her breath. The lasagna was still in the aluminum container. "Derek," she said, trying to stay calm. "Did you put the lasagna in with the foil still on?" "Yes. So what?" "So what? Foil and microwaves don't go together." Luna quickly opened the door and took out the container. "This could explode." "Explode?" Derek frowned. "You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" "You almost turned the kitchen into an action scene." Luna took the lasagna out of the foil and placed it on a proper plate. Who would have thought a tech CEO doesn't know how to use a microwave? Derek crossed his arms, clearly embarrassed. "I always eat out or order delivery. I don't need to cook." "Well, today you're going to learn." Luna put the plate in the microwave and set the timer. 6 minutes. And no metal in there, ever. They stood side by side, watching the plate turn inside the microwave. The silence was broken by a small popping sound from inside, followed by a spark. Luna's eyes widened. What was that? Another pop, then a bright light, and suddenly, the microwave started making a strange noise, like it was groaning in pain. "Step back." Luna pulled Derek away. The machine gave one last dramatic wheeze and let out a puff of white smoke from the door. The display blinked 3 times and went completely dark. Silence. Luna and Derek stood there, staring at the dead microwave. "You killed the microwave," Luna said, stunned. "I didn't do anything." Derek defended himself. "You're the one who said it, but you're the one who put foil in it before. You probably fried the system. That doesn't make any sense." "Oh, it does." Luna started laughing. "You're so bad in the kitchen, even the appliances give up." Derek tried to stay serious, but the corners of his mouth twitched, and then he started laughing too. Sam appeared in the kitchen doorway, eyes wide. "Why is there smoke?" "Because your dad decided to declare war on the microwave," Luna replied, still laughing. "And he lost." "I did not lose," Derek protested. "It was a technical tie." Luna laughed so hard she had to lean against the counter. She grabbed a soda can nearby and opened it, trying to pull herself together. But the laughter still had her, and when she tried to take a sip, she spilled half the soda on the floor. "Oh no." She looked at the brown puddle spreading across the white floor. Derek stepped back, trying to avoid the soda, but landed right on the slipperiest part. His feet slid forward, arms flailing in the air for balance, and he fell flat on his back with a thud. Luna dropped the can and ran to help him. "Are you okay?" "Let me help you." She reached out to him, but as she pulled, her own feet slipped on the soda. Luna lost her balance and fell backward, landing next to Derek with another thud. They both lay on the kitchen floor, staring at the ceiling. Sam appeared above them, looking down. "Are you guys okay?" Luna turned her head toward Derek. He did the same. Their eyes met, and for a second they just looked at each other. Then Luna started to laugh. A quiet laugh at first, growing louder until it filled the whole kitchen. Derek tried to hold it back, but it was impossible. He laughed too. A genuine, full laugh that Luna had never heard from him before. "We're pathetic," Luna said between laughs. "Completely," Derek agreed, running a hand over his face. Sam, not quite understanding what was going on, started laughing too and threw himself down between them. "This is fun," the boy shouted. The three of them stayed there, lying on the sticky soda-covered floor, laughing like it was the most natural thing in the world. When they finally managed to get up, Luna grabbed a dish towel and started cleaning up the mess. Derek helped, still smiling. "I think we'll have to order pizza," he said, tossing some paper towels into the trash. "Good idea. And this time, let me make the call. I don't trust you around appliances anymore." They ordered pepperoni pizza and grape soda. While they waited for the delivery, Luna set the table and Sam picked out an animated movie for them to watch afterward. When the pizza arrived, the three of them sat at the table. Derek served the slices, Luna poured the drinks, and Sam couldn't stop talking about the paper airplanes he had made. Everything was calm and cozy. Until Sam, with his mouth full of pizza, asked a completely unexpected question. "Daddy, could you and Luna get married?" Luna choked on her soda. She started coughing, eyes watery. Derek froze. The slice of pizza stuck halfway to his mouth. "What?" Luna managed to say between coughs. Sam looked at them both with pure innocence. "Married, like in the movies. Then Luna could live here forever and we'd be a real family." Derek slowly put the pizza back on his plate, as if a sudden movement might break the moment. "Sam, that's not—" he began, but didn't know how to finish. Luna wiped her mouth with a napkin, still catching her breath. "Sam, I already live here," she said, trying to keep the tone light. "We don't have to get married for that. But it'd be cooler if you were really my mom." The boy insisted, his eyes shining. "You make funny pancakes and play with me, and you make Dad laugh." The silence at the table was deafening. Luna looked at Derek, who was staring at his plate like the answer to all life's problems was hidden somewhere between the cheese and the tomato sauce. "Sam," Luna said gently, "your dad and I, we're just—" she searched for the right words. "We're friends. He's my boss. I take care of you." "It's different. But you laugh together." Sam argued with the simple logic of a child. "And you both fell on the floor today, and last night you played Uno until late. That's family stuff." Derek finally looked up and met Luna's eyes. There was something in his gaze that she couldn't quite read. Confusion, fear, hope. "Sam, finish your pizza," Derek said, his voice a bit firmer. "Then we'll watch the movie you picked." "But Daddy—" "Sam," Derek repeated, this time more serious. The boy pouted but obeyed, returning to his food in silence. Luna picked at her slice without really eating. Her heart was still pounding, and not just because she'd choked. It was because of the question, and because of the way Derek had looked at her right after. The rest of dinner went by in uncomfortable silence. Sam tried a few times to start a conversation, but neither Luna nor Derek seemed very responsive. When they finished, Luna quickly cleared the dishes and took them to the sink. Derek took Sam to the living room to watch a movie. Luna stayed in the kitchen longer than she needed to, washing the dishes with automatic movements. Married? The idea was absurd. Ridiculous. Impossible. But why had her heart started racing like that when Sam asked? The next morning, Luna woke up with a strange feeling that something had shifted. Sam's question was still echoing in her head, and she couldn't stop thinking about Derek's expression when the boy had said it. She went down to the kitchen earlier than usual, needing strong coffee to sort out her thoughts. She was pouring her cup when the doorbell rang. She frowned. Who could it be this early? She opened the door and saw Helen, the nanny from the house next door. A woman in her early 40s, always with her hair pulled into a tight bun and a look like she knew all the secrets of the world. "Good morning, Luna," Helen said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Good morning, Helen. Do you need something?" "Oh no. I just came to bring this." She held out a plastic container. "We had some carrot cake left over from yesterday's party. I thought I'd share." Luna took the container, suspicious. Helen had never been the sharing type. "Thank you, that's kind of you." Helen leaned in slightly, like she was about to share a secret. "So how are things going around here?" "I saw Mr. Campbell arriving early yesterday. It's nice he's spending more time at home, isn't it? Luna felt a little alarm go off in her head. Yes, he's been trying to have dinner with Sam more often. How sweet, Helen said with an overly cheerful smile. And do you also eat with them? Sometimes, Luna replied, unsure where the conversation was going. That's cozy. The word hung in the air uncomfortably. Luna narrowed her eyes. Sorry, cozy how? Helen shrugged, but the gesture carried a hint of mischief. Oh, you know how people are, always talking. Young nanny, single handsome boss, family dinners, people start to talk, you know? Luna felt her blood boil. Who's talking, Helen? Oh, honey, don't take it personally. Helen let out a fake little laugh. It's just that the neighbors have been commenting. They say you two are very close. One of the staff mentioned seeing you laughing together in the kitchen the other day. And you know how people interpret things. Interpret? Luna crossed her arms. Or invent? Helen feigned innocence. I'm just repeating what I heard. I'm not the one saying you two are having an affair. Luna's jaw dropped, stunned. An affair? You've got to be kidding. No need to get upset with me, Helen said, raising her hands defensively. I just thought you should know what people are saying. After all, reputation is everything, right? And with that, Helen turned and walked away, leaving Luna standing at the door with the cake container in her hands and fury rising in her chest. She shut the door harder than she meant to and went back to the kitchen, taking deep breaths. She set the container on the counter with so much force it nearly cracked. Gossip queen, she muttered. She has to make things up where there's nothing. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Were other people thinking the same thing? Did Derek know about the rumors? When Derek came down for breakfast, Luna was still upset. He noticed right away. Is something wrong? He asked, pouring himself some coffee. Luna crossed her arms. Did you know the neighbors think we're having an affair? Derek froze with the cup in midair. What? Helen, the nanny next door, came over to let me know the people in the neighborhood have been talking. They say we're too close. Derek calmly set his cup down on the counter. And does it bother you what they say? Of course it does, Luna exclaimed. My reputation is on the line. People are going to think I'm the kind of person who gets involved with her boss. Derek looked at her with his usual serious expression. But you're not involved. I know that, you know that, but apparently no one else does. Luna, Derek said firmly, ignore it. Bored people make up stories, don't give it any weight. Easy for you to say, Luna muttered. You're the rich boss, I'm just the nanny. Guess who's going to come out looking like the villain in this story? Derek sighed but didn't respond. He grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. I'm going to work. Try not to let it get to you. Sure, it's not bothering me at all, Luna said sarcastically, but he was already gone. The day dragged on. Luna tried to distract herself by playing with Sam, but the conversation with Helen still bothered her. How could people be so petty? That evening, after dinner, Sam asked if they could play something fun. Luna suggested charades, and the boy loved the idea. I'll go first, Sam shouted, jumping with excitement. He pretended to be a lion, then an airplane, and finally a robot, which made Luna laugh, because the robot was clearly an imitation of his own father. Derek walked into the room in the middle of the game, and to Luna's surprise, he sat on the couch to watch. Dad, now it's your turn. Sam held out the paper with the word to Derek. Sam, I don't. Please. Derek sighed, but took the paper. He read the word and frowned. How do I do this? No talking, just act it out. Sam laughed. Derek stood up and started miming. He made gestures with his hands, pointed at himself, then at Luna, and finally made a heart shape in the air. Luna's eyes widened. Marriage? Derek froze. Sam clapped his hands. You got it, it was marriage. Luna felt her face grow warm. Derek was still standing in the middle of the room, his hands in the air, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't. My turn. Luna stood up quickly, trying to hide her embarrassment. She picked a paper and read, Marriage. Of course. The universe was clearly conspiring against her. She took a deep breath and began acting it out. She made the gesture of putting on a veil, then walking down an aisle, and then holding an invisible bouquet. Sam shouted the answer, but Luna kept going. She looked at Derek and, without really thinking, mimed placing a ring on his finger. Derek stared at her, his eyes locked on hers for a little too long. Then, as if in a trance, he stepped forward. Luna stepped forward too. Their hearts were pounding in sync. His face was close. Too close. Dad! Luna! Are you really gonna kiss? Sam shouted, excited. The boy's voice broke the moment. Derek stepped back at once like he'd been shocked. "This can't happen," he said, his voice tense. Luna blinked, still trying to process what had almost happened. Then anger took over. "Fine," she said, crossing her arms, "because I don't want anything to do with a suit-wearing iceberg anyway." Derek clenched his jaw. "Luna? No, really. You're right. It would be ridiculous." She turned to Sam, forcing a smile. "Sam, how about we keep playing, just the two of us? Your dad has important, cold-hearted things to do." "Luna, that's immature," Derek said. "Immature?" Luna spun around. "Immature is almost kissing me and then acting like I've got some contagious disease. I wasn't going to kiss you." "Oh, come on. You were 2 inches away. You stepped forward, so did you." Sam looked back and forth between them like he was watching a tennis match. Derek ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "This is exactly the kind of thing that can't happen. You heard the rumors today. Imagine if..." "If what? If someone found out you almost kissed the nanny?" Luna snapped, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Relax, Mr. Campbell. Your secret's safe with me. Heaven forbid a man like you stooped so low. That's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" Derek opened his mouth, but no words came out. He looked at Sam, who was staring wide-eyed, then back at Luna. I have to work." And he left the room, leaving Luna standing there, bat shaking with anger. And something else she didn't want to admit. Sam tugged on her sleeve. "Luna, why did you two fight?" She took a deep breath and knelt beside him. "Grown-ups can be complicated, Sam, but it's okay. Want to keep playing?" But it wasn't okay, and Luna knew it. The next few days were strange. Derek practically vanished. He left the house before Luna woke up and came back after Sam was already asleep. When he needed to talk to her, he sent short, professional text messages. No more chats in the kitchen, no more family dinners, nothing. Luna tried not to care. After all, she was just the nanny. She had no right to miss him. But she did, and that only made her more upset. On Wednesday morning, Luna was in the kitchen making coffee when she heard footsteps on the stairs. Derek came down wearing a navy blue suit, his tie perfectly straight, hair neat. He looked even more distant than in the past few days. He walked into the kitchen without looking at her, went straight to the coffee machine, and grabbed a mug. Luna bit her lip. The silence was unbearable. She held the coffee pot and turned to pour herself a cup when her elbow hit the handle of Derek's mug, which was sitting at the edge of the counter. The mug tipped. Hot coffee spilled directly onto his dress shoe. Derek jumped back, but it was too late. The brown liquid ran down the black leather. "Seriously?" He looked at Luna in disbelief. "It was an accident," Luna said, but it didn't come out very convincingly. "An accident?" Derek grabbed a towel and started drying his shoe. "You bumped it on purpose." "I did not." Luna crossed her arms. "It's not my fault you leave things on the edge of the counter." "The cup wasn't near the edge." "Yes, it was. It was about to fall." "Luna, I know the difference between an accident and acting out." "Acting out?" Luna felt her anger rising. "I'm not 5 years old, Derek." "Then stop acting like it." "Me? You're the one who's been avoiding me for the past 3 days like I'm a ghost." Derek threw the dish towel on the counter. "I've been busy. I have a company to run." "Of course you do. You always do." Luna rolled her eyes. "But before, you used to make it home in time to have dinner with your son. Now, not even that. It's none of your business how I manage my time. It is when I'm the one who has to comfort Sam every night when he asks why his dad isn't home." Derek opened his mouth to reply, but closed it again. He grabbed his briefcase and headed toward the door. "I have to go," he said, his voice cold. "Of course you do," Luna muttered, loud enough for him to hear. "Run away. It's what you do best." Derek stopped at the door. He turned slowly. "What did you say?" Luna stared at him, her eyes shining with frustration. "You heard me. Every time things get hard, you run. You throw yourself into work, hide behind the company, pretend nothing happened. But you know what? That won't make your problems disappear." The silence that followed was heavy. Derek looked at her for a long moment, his jaw tight, his dark eyes impossible to read. "You don't know anything about me," he finally said, and walked out. Luna was left alone in the kitchen, her heart racing, her hands shaking. Had she gone too far? Probably, but so had he. Ignoring her like that, avoiding his own home because of one stupid almost kiss. The rest of the day dragged on. Luna took Sam to the park, made lunch, helped with his homework, but her mind was somewhere else. In the afternoon, while Sam was drawing in the living room, Luna heard the front door open. Derek had come home early. That was unusual. He walked into the room and looked at his son. Sam dropped his crayons and ran to him. "Daddy, you're home early." Derek picked the boy up, but Luna noticed he looked tired. Exhausted, really. "I am. I thought I'd spend some time with you. Can we play video games?" "Of course." Sam ran off to get controllers, and Derek finally looked at Luna. She quickly looked away and went upstairs to give them space. Hours later, with the sun already setting, Luna came downstairs to start dinner. She stopped in the hallway when she heard a teary voice coming from the living room. It was Sam. She walked over quietly and saw the boy sitting on the couch, tears running down his cheeks. Derek wasn't there. Luna walked into the room and knelt in front of him. "Sam, what happened? Why are you crying?" The boy wiped his face with his shirt sleeve. "Daddy went to work again. He said he'd stay, but he had to leave." Luna felt a sting in her chest. She hugged Sam tightly. Sometimes grown-ups have to work, even when they don't want to. But he always leaves. Sam sniffled. "Doesn't he like being with me?" "Of course he does." Luna held the boy's face in her hands. "Your dad loves you so much, Sam. You're the most important thing in the world to him." "Then why does he leave all the time?" Luna took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. Sometimes adults are scared of feelings, of getting too close, because when you truly love someone, it hurts a lot if you lose them. And your dad already lost someone very important, so now he's afraid. "My mom?" Luna nodded. "Yes. But you know what? Being afraid doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It means he loves you so much that the idea of losing you scares him." Sam thought for a moment. "And what about you, Luna? Are you scared too?" The question caught Luna off guard. She gave a sad smile. "Sometimes. But I'm learning that being scared shouldn't stop us from loving people, because love is the most important thing there is." "Do you love my dad?" Luna froze. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That's when she heard a voice behind her. "You're right. I am." Luna quickly turned around. Derek was standing at the doorway, still in his suit grip, with an expression so vulnerable she almost didn't recognize him. "I'm scared," he repeated, stepping closer. "I'm scared of getting too close, of caring too much, of losing again." Sam wiped his tears and looked at his father. Derek knelt in front of his son and Luna. "I'm sorry, Sam, for staying away, for not being here when you needed me." The boy threw himself into his father's arms, and Derek hugged him tightly. Luna stood up to give them space, but Derek reached out and grabbed her wrist. "Don't go," he said softly. "Please." Luna stood still, her heart racing. Derek looked at her with such intensity it took her breath away. "We need to talk," he said. "A real talk. No running. No interruptions." Luna swallowed hard. "When?" "Tonight, after Sam goes to bed." She hesitated. Part of her wanted to say no, to protect her heart. But the other part, the part that missed his laughter, the silly moments in the kitchen, the looks that lasted longer than they should, that part wanted to hear what he had to say. "All right," she agreed, cautiously. After Sam finally fell asleep, Luna came downstairs with her heart beating faster than she'd like to admit. She found Derek in the living room, sitting on the couch, hands clasped together, elbows resting on his knees. He was staring at the floor like he was trying to gather courage. Luna stopped at the doorway, arms crossed in a defensive posture. "So," she said, breaking the silence, "is this the part where you give me a corporate speech about professional boundaries?" Derek lifted his head and almost smiled. "No, I just want to stop running." Luna sat down in the armchair across from him, keeping a safe distance. She waited. Derek took a deep breath before starting. "I'm not good at this, talking about feelings, about what's going on in here." He touched his chest. "But I promised I'd try." He paused, searching for the right words. "Being a single dad is hard, harder than I thought. Some days I look at Sam and wonder if I'm doing anything right, if I'm the father he deserves, or if I'm just failing." Luna opened her mouth to speak, but Derek raised his hand. "Let me finish, please." She nodded. "When my wife died, I had no idea how to handle it. She was the one who held everything together. I was the work guy, the meetings guy, the contracts guy. She was the heart of the home. And when she was gone, I panicked. Suddenly, I had a 2-year-old and no idea how to be both mom and dad." His voice trembled slightly, but he kept going. "Her parents started questioning everything. Said I wasn't around enough. That Sam needed more than I could give. And the hardest part was, they were right. I wasn't there. I buried myself in work because that was the only thing I knew how to do. The only place I didn't feel completely lost. Luna felt a tightness in her chest. She had never seen Derek this vulnerable. I built walls, Derek admitted. Big, thick ones. Because if I didn't let anyone in, I wouldn't have to feel the pain of losing someone again. And it worked. For 3 years, it worked. Until you showed up. Luna felt her face warm. You came into my house with your flamingo slippers, your bad jokes, your dinosaur-shaped pancakes, and suddenly, Sam was smiling again, laughing, being a kid, and I realized the house wasn't just a house anymore, it was a home. Derek finally looked her in the eye. And that scared me, because the more I saw you with him, the more I started seeing you differently, not as the nanny, as something more. And I can't. Because if I let that happen and it goes wrong, it's not just me who gets hurt. Sam does too. Luna stayed quiet for a moment, letting it all sink in. Then, to Derek's surprise, she let out a small laugh. Wow, you're human, she said with a crooked smile. Here I was thinking you really were a robot, programmed to sign contracts and wear perfect suits. Derek shook his head, almost laughing. You never take anything seriously, do you? That's not it. Luna sighed, the smile fading. It's just, I use humor to keep from crying, you know? Because if I stop and think about things too much, it all gets too heavy. She looked down at her hands. I get you. More than you think. Derek waited, sensing it was her turn now. Luna took a deep breath. My dad always said I'd never be good enough for anything. That I was too loud, too clumsy, too much of a dreamer. He wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything that would impress his friends. But I just wanted to be happy. And that was never enough for him. Her voice grew softer. My mom was different. She understood me, supported me, told me being different was a good thing. But she died when I was 18. And after that, my dad and I drifted apart. So did the rest of my family. Without her, there was nothing keeping us together anymore. Luna quickly wiped her eyes. So I came to New York. I started working as a nanny, because taking care of kids makes me feel like I'm doing something that matters, something meaningful, even if my dad never thought it was anything to be proud of. She looked at Derek. And then I met you too. You and Sam. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was part of something, part of a family. Even if it wasn't really mine. The silence that followed was full of emotion. Derek leaned forward and, without realizing it, took Luna's hand. She looked at their hands, surprised. He didn't seem to notice what he'd done. He was too focused on her eyes. You're good enough, Luna, he said, his voice firm. More than good enough. You're amazing. And anyone who doesn't see that is blind. Luna felt her heart race. Derek's hand was warm, steady, holding hers like it was the most natural thing in the world. And he wasn't letting go. She looked at him. Derek looked back. The space between them suddenly felt smaller. Or maybe it had always been small, and they were just now noticing. Derek leaned in slightly. Luna did too. The air was heavy with anticipation. Luna? Sam's voice echoed from upstairs. Luna, where are you? They pulled apart instantly as if they'd been caught doing something wrong. Derek let go of her hand, and Luna felt the cold right away. Quick footsteps came down the stairs. Sam appeared in the room, holding his blue dinosaur. Luna, I can't sleep. Rex is scared of the dark. Luna smiled, trying to steady her breathing. Is Rex scared, or are you? Sam frowned. Okay, it's me. But will you come upstairs with me? Of course. Luna stood, but Sam looked at her hands and his father's. Were you two holding hands? The boy asked, his eyes lighting up. Luna blushed. No, I was just adjusting his watch. The watch is on his wrist, not in his hand. Sam pointed out with that perfect child logic. Derek cleared his throat. Sam, shouldn't you be in bed? Are you two getting married? Sam ignored his father's question. Because Lily from school says grown-ups only hold hands when they're going to get married. Sam, that's not how it works. Luna tried to explain, but you were really close. Just like in the movies, right before the kiss. Derek covered his face with his hand, clearly embarrassed. Sam, upstairs. Now, but I just want to know if... Upstairs, Derek repeated, though there was a slight smile on his face. Sam pouted, but obeyed. Luna followed him, still feeling the warmth of Derek's hand in hers. In the bedroom, she helped Sam get settled, tucked him in, and sat beside him. Luna, Sam whispered. Do you like my dad? Luna hesitated. Your dad is a good man. That's not what I asked. The kid was too smart for his own good. Sleep, Sam. Luna kissed his forehead. We'll talk tomorrow. You always say that. And I always stall, I know, she smiled. But some things are just too complicated to explain. Sam closed his eyes but mumbled before falling asleep. I think you and Dad should be together. You're both happy when you're near each other." Luna stayed a few more minutes, waiting for him to fall completely asleep. When she finally came downstairs, Derek was still in the living room, waiting. "Is he asleep?" he asked. "He is, and he questioned me about you on the way up." Derek smiled. He's persistent. "Yeah," takes after his dad. They stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say. So much had happened that night. So much had been revealed. The next morning, after everyone had finished breakfast, the doorbell rang. Derek and Luna looked toward the door. Who would be ringing at this hour? Derek walked over and opened it. A woman in a business suit stood outside, holding a folder, with a professional look on her face. "Mr. Campbell?" she asked. "I'm Jennifer Hayes, county social worker. I'm here for a follow-up visit regarding the shared custody case for minor Samuel Campbell." Derek froze. Luna felt her stomach twist. The social worker gave a polite smile. "I know it's early, but would it be all right to come in? This won't take long." Derek opened the door fully, trying to stay composed. "Of course. Come in," he said, his voice tight. Jennifer Hayes stepped into the house with measured steps, her eyes scanning the space with professional attention. Luna, who had been in the living room, quickly stood, smoothing her blouse out of pure nerves. "Good morning," the social worker greeted. "You must be the nanny, correct?" "Luna Parker." She held out her hand. "Nice to meet you." Jennifer shook her hand politely and took a notepad from her folder. "As I told Mr. Campbell, this is just a routine check. Nothing to worry about. We just want to make sure Samuel is in a healthy environment," and a loud shriek cut her off. Everyone turned toward the stairs. Sam came running down, completely naked, wearing only underwear on his head like a hat. "I'm Super Sam," the boy shouted, arms out like he was flying. "And I'm here to save the world from clothes." Luna's eyes widened. Derek froze. Jennifer Hayes blinked several times, as if trying to process what she was seeing. "Sam," Derek said, his voice slightly louder than usual. "Go get dressed right now." "But I'm hot," Sam protested, stopping right in front of the social worker. "Who are you?" Jennifer opened her mouth, but Luna was quicker. She ran over to Sam, pulled off her hoodie, leaving just her undershirt, and wrapped the boy in it. "Come on, champ, time to get dressed," she said, lifting him up in her arms. "Super Sam needs a proper uniform." "But Luna..." No buts. She was already climbing the stairs with him. "And take off those underpants from your head before they turn into a permanent hat." Derek rubbed his face and took a deep breath. When he looked at Jennifer, her expression was hard to read. "Sorry," Derek said. "He's going through a creative phase." "Children are unpredictable," Jennifer replied, jotting something down in her notepad. "It comes with the territory." Luna came back a few minutes later with Sam now dressed in a dinosaur t-shirt and shorts. He still looked a bit disappointed that he'd lost his chance to be naked Super Sam. "All set," Luna announced. Wardrobe crisis resolved. Then she looked down and noticed it. Her white t-shirt had a huge red pizza sauce stain right in the middle, from breakfast. Bright red and impossible to miss. "Oh, perfect," she muttered to herself. "Just what I needed to look even more professional." Jennifer glanced at the stain but didn't say a word. She just made another note. Derek noticed Luna's discomfort and quickly tried to shift the focus. "Shall we sit down?" he offered, gesturing toward the couch. "Of course." Jennifer sat gracefully, crossing her legs. Luna sat next to Sam, who immediately climbed into her lap. Derek remained standing, posture stiff like he was in a business meeting. "So, Mr. Campbell," Jennifer began, "how have things been going? Is Sam settled into the routine?" "Yes, very well," Derek replied, voice formal. "He goes to school every day, does his activities, has a regular schedule." Jennifer looked at Sam. "And you, Sam? Do you like living here with your dad?" Sam nodded, hugging his dinosaur to his chest. "Yes, Luna makes funny pancakes. And Daddy plays video games with me now." Jennifer smiled and wrote something else down. "And does Luna live here with you?" "No," Derek answered quickly. "She has a room upstairs, but it's just to make work easier. She looks after Sam while I'm at the office." "I see." Jennifer looked at Luna. "And how is it working here, Miss Parker?" Luna felt everyone's eyes on her. She took a deep breath and tried to sound confident. "It's good. Sam is a wonderful child, and Mr. Campbell is a devoted father." "Devoted?" Jennifer repeated. "Can you elaborate?" Luna glanced at Derek, who looked tense. "He works a lot, that's true. But whenever he can, he's here. He eats dinner with Sam, plays with him, stays involved in his life. He's learning how to balance everything." Jennifer took more notes. The silence in the room felt heavy. Mr. Campbell, Jennifer finally said. I'm here because the Monroe family requested a custody reassessment. They claim you don't have enough time to properly care for Samuel and that he would be better off in their care. Derek clenched his jaw. With all due respect, they're wrong. I understand your position, Jennifer continued, but I need to make an objective evaluation. That's why I'm here, to see how Samuel is actually living. She looked around. The house was fairly tidy. There were toys scattered around, but it wasn't messy. It looked lived in, like a real home. May I ask Sam a few questions? Jennifer asked. Alone? Derek hesitated but nodded. Luna set Sam down and whispered in his ear. Just tell the truth, okay? Sam nodded and followed Jennifer into the kitchen. Once they were alone, Luna turned to Derek. You didn't tell me you were having custody issues. Derek sighed and sat down on the couch. I didn't want to worry you, and I didn't think it was that serious. But my wife's mother, Elizabeth, has always believed I wasn't enough as a father. She wants Sam. She thinks she can give him a better life. Luna felt a tightness in her chest. Can she? What? Derek looked at her surprised. Can she give him a better life? Derek was quiet for a moment. Financially? Yes. Emotionally? Maybe. She has time. Patience. Everything I don't. Derek, that's not true. Yes, it is. You know it. I'm a mess as a father. I blow up microwaves, miss school meetings, spend more time at the office than at home. Luna sat beside him. But you're trying, and that matters. Sam knows you love him. Derek looked at her, eyes tired. Does that matter to a judge? Before Luna could answer, Jennifer and Sam came back. The boy ran to his dad and climbed into his lap. Jennifer looked at them both, then at Luna, and finally made one last note. It seems your son is doing well, Mr. Campbell, she said, closing her notepad. And surrounded by a lot of love. Derek let out a relieved breath. Thank you. Jennifer stood up. I'll write my report and send it to the court. But I can say the home is in order, Sam is happy and healthy, and it's clear there are people here who care about him. She looked at Luna. Especially you, Miss Parker. Your care for this family is obvious. Luna felt her face grow warm. Jennifer walked to the door, but before leaving, she turned back. One last thing, Mr. Campbell. If you need additional references for the case, people who can speak about the family environment, it would be wise to prepare that. And with that, she left. Derek stood still, processing everything. After a few seconds, he looked at Luna. Luna, I need to ask you something. She waited. Would you be willing to be a formal reference in the case, to testify about what things are like here? About how Sam's doing? Luna blinked, surprised. You want me to go to court? Yes. If it comes to that, you spend more time with him than anyone else. You see everything. The judge needs to hear that. Luna looked at Sam, who was playing on the floor with his dinosaur. Then she looked back at Derek. Of course, she said, though her voice came out hesitant. Are you sure? I'm sure. I'll help. But even as she said it, her eyes showed doubt, because testifying meant getting even more involved. It meant making a commitment, and part of her was afraid of what that might mean for her own heart. 3 days after the social worker's visit, life in the house seemed to have gone back to normal. Or almost. Luna noticed Derek was more tense, checking his phone constantly, like he was expecting bad news at any moment. That Saturday morning, Luna was in the kitchen with Derek and Sam, the three of them making pancakes. But not just any pancakes. These were artistic pancakes. Mine's going to be a unicorn, Sam announced, pouring the batter into the pan in a completely random shape. That looks more like a slug with a horn, Luna joked, laughing. And yours is better? Sam pointed at Luna's pancake, which was supposed to be a cat, but looked more like a deformed alien. Derek was trying to make a perfect circle, but the batter kept running off to the sides, forming something that looked like an amoeba. Mr. Campbell, your cooking skills are as impressive as ever, Luna teased. At least mine won't give anyone nightmares, he replied, glancing at Luna's alien cat. The three of them were laughing when the doorbell rang. Derek frowned and went to answer it. When he opened the door, he froze. Elizabeth. Luna, who was flipping a pancake, paused mid-motion. Elizabeth, his mother-in-law, a well-dressed woman in her 60s, entered the house. Perfectly styled gray hair, expensive but modest clothing, upright posture. She looked around with sharp eyes. Derek, she greeted him in a formal tone. I hope I'm not intruding. No, of course not, Derek replied, clearly lying. What brings you here? I spoke to the social worker, Elizabeth said, walking toward the kitchen. She mentioned that Sam is doing well. I wanted to see for myself. As she entered the kitchen, she stopped. Sam had flour on his face, Luna was holding a spatula dripping batter, and Derek had a chocolate syrup stain on his shirt. "Grandma?" Sam ran over and hugged her legs. Elizabeth smiled, but it was a tight smile. She patted her grandson's head. "Hello, dear. What are you making?" "Unicorn pancakes." Sam showed her his creation in the skillet. Elizabeth looked at Luna, examining her from head to toe. "You must be the nanny." "Luna Parker," she said, reaching out her hand, trying to wipe off some flour first. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Monroe." Elizabeth shook her hand briefly, without much enthusiasm. "I've heard a lot about you from the social worker." Her tone was neutral, but Luna felt there was something behind the words. Derek cleared his throat. "Elizabeth, if I had known you were coming, I would have." "Prepared the house?" Elizabeth interrupted. "I prefer it this way, to see how things really are." She looked around at the messy kitchen, the oddly shaped pancakes, and the three of them covered in flour and syrup. "Interesting," was all she said. "Grandma, are you staying?" Sam asked hopefully. Elizabeth looked at her grandson, and her expression softened. "If your father doesn't mind, I'd like to spend a few days here, to spend time together." Derek had no way to say no. "Of course, make yourself at home." And that's how the strangest days Luna had ever experienced in that house began. Elizabeth settled into the guest room, and, from the very first day, she watched everything. Luna felt her eyes on her all the time. When she played with Sam, when she cooked meals, when she helped with homework. On the second day, Luna was giving Sam a bath when she dropped the shampoo bottle. It rolled across the bathroom floor and hit the door. Elizabeth appeared immediately. "Is everything all right?" "Yes, just the shampoo acting rebellious," Luna said, picking the bottle up from the floor. Elizabeth watched as Luna dried Sam, put his pajamas on, and carefully combed his hair. "You do this every day?" "Yes, it's part of the routine." Elizabeth nodded but didn't say anything else. On the third day, Luna was making lunch when she slightly burned the rice. Elizabeth was in the kitchen and commented, "You should lower the heat earlier." "I know," Luna replied, trying not to sound defensive. "I got distracted for a second." "A second is all it takes for things to go wrong," Elizabeth said, but her tone wasn't cruel. It was just factual. Luna began to feel pressured, as if she were constantly being tested. But then, on the fourth day, something changed. Sam was playing in the living room when he tripped and fell, scraping his knee. He started crying loudly. Luna ran to him, picked him up, and carried him to the kitchen. "Let me see, champ." She examined his knee. "Ah, just a little scratch." "You're strong. It will heal soon." She grabbed a Band-Aid from the cabinet, but it wasn't just any Band-Aid. It had superhero designs. "Look at this. Spider-Man is going to protect your knee now," she said, carefully putting it on. Sam stopped crying and looked at the Band-Aid. "Really? Really? And do you know what else helps?" Luna put on a serious face. "Medicinal ice cream." "Medicinal ice cream?" Sam repeated, his eyes lighting up. "Yes, it's scientifically proven that ice cream cures scraped knees." Luna opened the freezer and took out a cone. Elizabeth, who was watching from the doorway, shook her head, but there was a small smile at the corner of her mouth. In the following days, Elizabeth kept watching, but Luna noticed that the critical look was changing, becoming softer, more curious. One night, Luna was telling Sam a bedtime story when Elizabeth appeared at the bedroom door. She stayed there, listening to Luna do different voices for each character, making Sam laugh. When the boy finally fell asleep, Elizabeth followed Luna into the hallway. "You're good with him?" she said, and Luna realized it wasn't a criticism. It was acknowledgement. "Thank you. He's an amazing boy." Elizabeth looked at Sam's bedroom door. This house used to be so empty, cold, like a museum. But now, there's life here. Luna didn't know what to say. Elizabeth looked at her. "You brought this, the life, the warmth." And then, without saying anything else, she went to her own room. Luna stood in the hallway, her heart tight. Was Elizabeth starting to like her, or was it just a casual remark? The next day, Luna was passing by Derek's office when she heard his voice on the phone. "Yes, I need someone to start on Monday. A housekeeper, to prepare breakfast and organize the house. Can you send the resume?" Luna stopped. Her stomach turned. A housekeeper? To make breakfast? But she was the one who made breakfast every day. She was the one who made the pancakes, the eggs, the coffee. She was the one who set the table. And now he was going to hire someone to do her job? Luna walked into the office without knocking. Derek quickly hung up the phone. Luna, a housekeeper? She interrupted him, her voice trembling. You're going to hire a housekeeper? Derek sighed. It's necessary. With Elizabeth here and with the custody process, I need to show that the house is in order, that it has a professional structure. Professional structure. Luna felt her anger rising. I'm not enough structure? This isn't about you. Of course it is. Luna crossed her arms. You're replacing me, putting every piece in the right place. The housekeeper takes care of the house and the breakfast, and I always take care of Sam and the breakfast he loves. Now I won't even make his breakfast? I'll just be another disposable employee in a few days? Luna, you're overreacting. I'm not. You're trying to formalize everything. Put me in a box, but I'm not a decorative piece, nor a stepping stone for a lonely millionaire. Derek stood up from his chair. You know that's not it. Then what is it? They stood face to face, their breathing fast, the tension filling all the space between them. And then Derek kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't planned. It was pure impulse, need, frustration turned into something else. Luna was surprised for a second, but then she kissed him back, her hands clutching his shoulders. When they finally pulled apart, both were out of breath. Luna, Derek began, but she kissed him again, and this time they didn't stop. That night, they crossed a line they shouldn't have crossed. The next morning, Luna woke up in Derek's room. The daylight streamed through the window, and the reality of what had happened hit her like a bucket of cold water. Derek was sitting on the edge of the bed, already dressed, his head in his hands. Derek? Luna called, pulling the sheet around her. He didn't turn. This was a mistake. The words hit her like a punch. What? Derek finally looked at her, but there was distance in his eyes. Elizabeth is here. The custody case is moving forward. If she finds out I'm having a romance with the nanny, I'll lose Sam. Luna felt the tears burning. So that's all this was? A mistake? Luna, please try to understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. She stood up, grabbing her clothes. You want me to forget everything and just go back to being the professional nanny? Yes, Derek said, and that word hurt more than Luna expected. She walked out of the room, murmuring to herself. If only he had said we should wait until the custody was official, I would have understood. But calling it a mistake, that's too much. The next day, Luna couldn't take it anymore. She went upstairs to her room and started packing. That's when Sam came in. Luna, what are you doing? She stopped, hands trembling. Sam, The boy saw the open suitcase, and his eyes filled with tears. You're leaving? His voice cracked. Sam, don't go, Luna. He ran to her and hugged her, crying. Please, I love you. I want you to be my new mommy. Luna felt her heart break into 1,000 pieces. She got down on her knees and hugged him. Sam, I love you too. But sometimes things don't work out the way we want. But why? He sobbed. Because... Luna didn't have an answer. I have to go, but I'll visit you all the time. I promise. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Because staying close to that family after everything would be far too painful. Luna quickly wiped away her tears and let go of Sam. It's going to be okay, champ, she said, trying to smile. You're strong, and your dad loves you very much. But I want you here, Sam insisted, clinging to her shirt. Luna looked at the boy and felt her chest tighten even more. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that the adult world is far too complicated? That sometimes love isn't enough? That's when she heard footsteps in the hallway. She turned and saw Elizabeth standing in the doorway, watching the scene with a serious expression. Sam, sweetheart, Elizabeth said softly. Can you go downstairs and get me some juice? Sam hesitated, looking from Luna to his grandmother. But I'll talk to Luna, I promise. Elizabeth assured him. Reluctantly, Sam left the room, still sniffling. Once they were alone, Elizabeth stepped in and closed the door behind her. So you're really leaving? It wasn't a question. Luna went back to packing, avoiding the woman's eyes. Yes, I think it's for the best. Best for who? Luna stopped, her hands resting on a folded shirt. For everyone. Elizabeth crossed her arms. Doesn't seem that way to me. Sam's crying. You're crying. And I'm sure Derek, wherever he is, isn't doing well either. Derek's fine, Luna replied, her voice sharper than she meant. He made it very clear I'm just the nanny, nothing more. Elizabeth was quiet for a moment, watching Luna. Do you love him? The question caught Luna off guard. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. It's a simple question, Elizabeth pressed. It's not for lack of love. Luna finally said, closing the suitcase. It's for personal reasons, complicated ones. and I'd rather not get into them. She picked up the suitcase and walked toward the door, but Elizabeth didn't move. You changed this house. When I arrived, I expected to find a cold museum like it always was. But instead, I found life, laughter, love, and all of that is because of you. Luna felt the tears return. Elizabeth, please, don't make this harder. Sam needs you. Elizabeth continued. And whether you admit it or not, Derek needs you too. Luna shook her head and walked past her, heading down the stairs with the heavy suitcase. Sam was in the front hall, the juice forgotten in his hand, his eyes red. Luna, she knelt down and kissed his forehead. Be a good boy, okay? And take care of your dad. She stood quickly before her courage faded and opened the door. That's when she heard Elizabeth picking up the phone. The woman dialed a number with quick, firm fingers, but Luna didn't stop. She stepped out the door, dragging the suitcase down the steps. Derek? Elizabeth's voice echoed through the hall. You need to come home right now. No, Sam's fine, she continued. But Luna's leaving. And you're a fool if you let the woman you love walk out like this. Yes, I said the woman you love. The woman who changed your home. The woman who gives love to your son. The woman who made you human again. There was a pause. I don't care if you have a meeting. Cancel it, Elizabeth said firmly. Because if you're not here in the next 10 minutes, you'll lose her. And this time, it'll be your fault. She hung up the phone and looked toward the door. But Luna was already gone. Luna walked down the street without looking back, tears streaming down her face. She had no car, nowhere to go right away. So she did the only thing she could, walked to the nearest bus stop and sat on the bench. The suitcase sat beside her. Luna hugged her knees and cried. She cried for Sam. She cried for Derek. She cried for herself and for the foolishness of falling in love with someone who couldn't love her back. She didn't know how much time had passed when she heard footsteps running. She looked up and saw Derek. He had no jacket on, his tie was crooked, and his hair was a mess, like he had run the whole way. Luna. He panted, trying to catch his breath. She quickly wiped her face and looked away. Derek knelt down in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. Derek, don't do this. Luna pleaded, her voice breaking. Please. I'm sorry, he said, and there was real pain in his eyes. I'm sorry for being a coward, for being afraid, for hurting you. You made it very clear what I am to you, Luna replied. The nanny, nothing more. I was wrong. Derek held her hands. I was so afraid of losing Sam, of losing the case, that I forgot what really matters. Luna tried to pull her hands away, but he didn't let go. What matters is that you make me want to be better. Derek went on. You reminded me how to laugh, how to be present, how to have a real family, not just a house full of expensive furniture. But your mother-in-law, Elizabeth called me. Derek interrupted. And do you know what she said? That I'm an idiot. And she's right. Luna let out a weak laugh, still crying. At least we agree on that. Derek smiled gently. Luna, I don't want you to be my son's nanny, he said, and Luna felt her heart tighten again. I want you to be part of our family, for real, not as an employee, as the woman I love. Luna blinked, stunned. You, what? I love you, Derek repeated more firmly this time. I love you, and I was a fool for not saying it sooner. For letting fear decide for me. Luna looked at him, this man who had been so cold in the beginning and who now was kneeling at a bus stop, declaring his love for her. Derek, she started, but the words failed. You don't have to say anything right now, he said. Just don't go. Stay. Give me a chance to prove I can be the man you deserve. Luna took a deep breath. Part of her wanted to believe, wanted it so badly, but the other part, the part that had been hurt, was still scared. How do I know you won't change your mind again? She asked softly. How do I know that tomorrow you won't wake up full of regret and ask me to leave? Derek held her face in both hands. Because I spent the whole morning full of regret. Not for being with you, but for being a coward afterward. And I don't want another day of my life without you in it. New tears rolled down Luna's face, but this time, they weren't just from sadness. I love you too, she finally admitted. But I'm scared. I'm scared of getting hurt again. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving you can trust me. Luna looked into his eyes. There was sincerity there, and love. But also vulnerability, something Derek rarely showed. Then prove it, she said. Derek blinked. What? Prove it. Luna repeated more firmly this time. Prove it's not just fear of losing me. Prove you truly want this, not with words, with actions. Derek nodded slowly, understanding. All right, he said, standing up and reaching out his hand. Come with me. Luna hesitated for a second. Then she took his hand. He helped her up and grabbed her suitcase. Where are we going? Luna asked. Derek smiled, and there was something different in that smile. Something light. Free. Home. And then wherever you want. Because if you're going to be part of my life, I need to show you who I really am. Not the CEO. Not the lonely father. Just me. Luna felt her heart race again. But this time it wasn't fear. It was hope. The two of them walked back to the house, hand in hand. When they arrived, Sam was standing at the door with Elizabeth. The boy ran and threw himself into Luna's arms. You're back, he shouted, happy. I'm back, Luna confirmed, hugging him tight, and I'm not going anywhere. Elizabeth watched the scene, and for the first time since she had arrived, gave a genuine smile. Welcome back, Luna, she said. Looks like my son-in-law finally woke up. Derek looked at his mother-in-law, surprised. You approve? Approve? Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. If you had let her go, I would have taken you off Sam's custody just for being stupid. Luna laughed, still holding Sam. Derek wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. So, he whispered in her ear. Where do I start proving it? Luna looked at him, her eyes still wet but shining. Start from the beginning. Show me who Derek Campbell is when he's not hiding behind suits and contracts. He nodded. Deal. And for the first time in a long while, Luna felt that maybe, just maybe, things could actually work out. 3 days later, Derek woke Luna up early on a Saturday. She was still in her pajamas when he appeared at her bedroom door. Put on something comfortable, he said with a mysterious smile. We're going out. Luna rubbed her eyes, confused. Out? Where? What time is it? 7 in the morning. And it's a surprise. 7 a.m. on a Saturday should be illegal, Luna muttered, but got up anyway. When she came downstairs, she found Sam already dressed and full of energy, bouncing on one foot and then the other. Luna, we're going on a picnic. A picnic? She looked at Derek, who was holding a basket. You know how to do a picnic? No, that's why I bought everything ready-made, he admitted without shame. Learning from my mistakes, Luna laughed and grabbed her jacket. They got in the car and Derek drove out of the city. Luna watched the scenery change, tall buildings giving way to trees and smaller houses. Where exactly are we going? She asked. To the place where I grew up, Derek replied, and there was something different in his voice. Something lighter. After nearly an hour, they arrived at a small, simple park. There were some old trees, wooden benches, and a worn-out playground. Nothing fancy, nothing impressive, but it felt cozy. Derek parked and looked around with a nostalgic smile. I spent every summer of my childhood here, he said, getting out of the car. Sam ran to the playground, and Luna walked alongside Derek. I didn't picture you as a public park kid, she said. I wasn't always a suit-wearing CEO, Derek smiled. Believe it or not, I was once a kid who climbed trees and came home covered in scrapes. They found a nice spot under a big tree and spread out the blanket on the ground. Derek opened the basket and pulled out sandwiches, fruit, juice, and even some cookies. Impressive, Luna said. Not a single microwave exploded in the making of this picnic. That's because I didn't make anything, Derek replied, laughing. I just bought it all. As they ate, Derek pulled out his phone and started showing Luna old photos. One of him at about 8 years old, smiling with a missing front tooth. Look at this. Luna laughed. You were adorable. What happened? I got serious, Derek made a face. And I lost that tooth in a fight over a swing. You fought over a swing? It was the best swing in the park. Totally worth it. Luna laughed so hard she almost choked on her juice. It was the first time she had ever seen Derek so relaxed, so human. He showed her more photos. His parents, who had already passed away. The simple house where he grew up. His childhood friends. Everything changed when I went to college, Derek said, putting his phone away. I started working hard, climbing the ladder. And somewhere along the way, I forgot about this part of me. The part that just wanted to be happy. Luna held his hand. You can have both, you know? Success and happiness. I know that now. You reminded me. Sam came running back, sweaty and smiling. Dad, Luna, let's play something. What do you want to play? Derek asked. Uno. Luna looked at Derek in surprise. You brought Uno to a picnic? Of course. He pulled the deck from his backpack. It's the official Campbell family game now. They played right there, sitting on the blanket. But Sam started making up silly rules. If someone plays a red 7, they have to make a funny face, the boy declared. That's not a real rule, Luna protested. It is now, Sam insisted. Derek played a red 7 and made the silliest face he could, crossing his eyes and puffing out his cheeks. Luna and Sam burst into laughter. My turn! Luna played a blue +2, and the rule is whoever gets a +2 has to sing a song. Derek drew 2 cards and began singing a birthday song completely off key. That makes no sense. Luna laughed so hard her eyes watered. You didn't say which song. They kept playing with even more ridiculous rules. By the time the game ended, Sam was exhausted and laid down on the blanket, falling asleep almost instantly. Luna covered the boy with her jacket and looked at Derek. Thank you for today, she said softly, for showing me this side of you. Derek stayed quiet for a moment, just looking at her. Then suddenly he knelt down in front of Luna. Her eyes widened. Derek, what are you? Relax, he raised his hands. It's not what you're thinking. Not yet. Luna let out the breath she'd been holding. Then what is it? Derek took her hands in his. Luna Parker, you walked into my life wearing flamingo slippers and your wild, wonderful way of being. You turned my house into a home. You made my son smile again, and you taught me it's okay not to be perfect. Luna felt her eyes fill with tears. I'm not asking you to marry me right now, Derek continued, because I want to do it the right way, at the right time. But I do want to ask you something. What is it? Derek smiled. Can I be your partner in this crazy life? Luna blinked, surprised, and then she started laughing. Not a nervous laugh, it was genuine, happy, full of love. Seriously, she said between laughs. You got down on one knee to ask if you can be my partner? Yes, Derek said, smiling too. It matters to me. Luna wiped her tears from laughing and held his face in both hands. Only if you promise me one thing. What's that? That you will never, ever, under any circumstances, try to cook again. Derek laughed out loud. I promise. I solemnly swear I'll never go near an oven or microwave without supervision. Then yes, Luna said, pulling him closer. You can be my partner in this crazy life. They kissed there, under the tree, with Sam sleeping beside them and the afternoon sun warming everything around them. When they pulled apart, Derek rested his forehead against hers. I love you, Luna Parker. I love you too, Derek Campbell, even if you're terrible in the kitchen. He laughed and pulled her into a tight hug. And in that moment, in the simple park where Derek had grown up, far from suits and meetings, he finally felt whole. 1 year later, Luna woke up on her birthday, expecting another ordinary day. She went downstairs in her pajamas, yawning, with Federico, the little succulent Derek had given her a year ago, now grown and thriving in a bigger pot by the kitchen window. The house was oddly quiet. Derek had left early for a meeting, or at least, that's what he said. Sam was at school. Luna sighed. At least she wouldn't be alone tonight. She made coffee and sat at the table, thinking back to last year's birthday. The lonely little cupcake, the crooked candle, Derek showing up unexpectedly. How much had changed since then? She was lost in thought when she heard a noise from the living room. She frowned and went to check it out. As she stepped into the room, the lights came on all at once. Surprise! Luna jumped, putting a hand over her chest. Derek and Sam were standing there, covered in flour, with a lopsided cake on the table and balloons hanging haphazardly around the room. You, Luna started, but couldn't finish the sentence. We made a cake, Sam shouted, excited. Well, we tried. Luna looked at the cake. It was a leaning tower of batter, covered in pink frosting that dripped down the sides. Random candles were stuck all over it, some crooked, some lying on the cake itself. This is the ugliest thing I've ever seen, Luna said, then burst out laughing. And it's perfect. Derek smiled, flour in his hair and a streak of frosting on his face. I know I promised never to cook again, but technically Sam was supervising. I helped, Sam confirmed proudly. I cracked the eggs and dropped half the shells in, Derek added. But we fished them all out, I think. Luna crossed her arms, trying not to laugh even more. So there's a chance I'll chip a tooth on an eggshell? A small one, Derek admitted. Very small. Luna shook her head and walked over to them, hugging them both. Thank you. You two are crazy. We learned from the best, Derek said, kissing the top of her head. They sang Happy Birthday, with Sam purposely singing off-key to make Luna laugh. When they finished, Derek lit the candles. Make a wish, Sam urged. Luna looked at the candles, then at Derek and Sam. She closed her eyes and thought, let this never end. She blew out all the candles at once. Sam clapped his hands. Now cut the cake. Luna picked up the knife, but before she could slice it, Derek took her hand. Wait, There's something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Luna felt her heart stop. Derek. He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring with a small diamond that sparkled in the light. Sam was bouncing next to him, barely able to contain his excitement. Luna Parker, Derek began, his voice full of emotion. A year ago, your wish was not to celebrate alone, and you didn't. You celebrated with me. With us. Luna felt tears start to fall. And I want you to celebrate every birthday with me too, Derek went on. Forever. Until we're old, with gray hair, arguing about who forgot to buy milk. Luna laughed through her tears. So? Derek took a deep breath. Will you marry me? For a second, Luna couldn't speak. She just looked at the man in front of her, the man who'd once been so cold, and who now stood there covered in flour, with a crooked cake beside him and his heart wide open. Yes, she finally said, her voice shaky. Yes, I do. Derek slid the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a kiss full of love, of promises, of a future. Sam cheered with joy and jumped on top of them, making all three fall into a messy hug. When they pulled apart, Luna had flour on her face and chocolate syrup on her shirt. Derek wasn't in better shape, now with frosting in his hair. We're a mess, Luna said, laughing. The best mess in the world, Derek agreed. Sam tugged at Luna's sleeve. So now, can I be the ring bearer at the wedding? Luna and Derek looked at each other and laughed. Of course you can, Luna assured him. You're going to be the cutest ring bearer ever. I'm going to practice, Sam declared. I'll walk really slow and won't drop the rings. Derek tousled his son's hair. You'll be perfect, champ. 3 months later, on a sunny spring morning, Luna was in a room getting ready for the wedding. Elizabeth was adjusting her veil with care. You look beautiful, dear, the woman said, eyes misty. Thank you, Elizabeth. Luna held her hand. For everything, for believing in me, for not letting Derek lose me. Elizabeth smiled. You saved my family, Luna. You brought life where there was only coldness. I should be thanking you. A soft knock on the door interrupted them. Sam walked in, wearing a little suit and holding the ring pillow like it was the most precious treasure in the world. Luna, you look like a princess. And you look like a prince. She knelt down to his level. Ready? Yes, I practiced last night. Watch. Sam walked slowly across the room in exaggerated slow motion. Luna and Elizabeth laughed. Perfect. Luna approved. The music started. It was time. Luna walked down the aisle to the garden where the ceremony would take place. There were flowers everywhere, friends and family seated, but she only had eyes for Derek. He stood at the altar in a gray suit, eyes fixed on her. And when their eyes met, he smiled. That smile Luna had grown to love, the one that didn't appear often but meant more than 1,000 words. Sam walked ahead of her, holding the pillow with all the seriousness of an adult, but tripped over his own foot and almost dropped the rings. He caught them just in time and looked back with a relieved smile. The guests laughed, and Sam continued his triumphant walk. When Luna reached the altar, Derek took her hand. You look beautiful, he whispered. You too, and no flower this time. He chuckled quietly. The ceremony was short but emotional. They exchanged vows, promising love, partnership, patience with Derek's cooking attempts, and lots of dinosaur-shaped pancakes. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Derek pulled her close and kissed her with all the love he had kept inside for so long. The guests applauded. Sam shouted, "Yay!" from the crowd. Elizabeth discreetly wiped away tears. At the reception, Luna and Derek danced their first dance. It wasn't perfect. He stepped on her foot twice, but it was theirs. Real. Honest. So, Mrs. Campbell, Derek said as they twirled. How do you feel? Like I hit the jackpot, Luna replied. But like the life jackpot. Not the money one, because you already hit that before meeting me. Derek laughed. I hit the real jackpot when you walked into my life with those ridiculous flip-flops. Hey, don't talk bad about my flamingos. Never. I love them. Just like I love you. Luna rested her head on his shoulder. I love you too. Forever. And there, in the middle of the celebration, surrounded by people who loved them, Luna knew this was just the beginning. The beginning of a life full of laughter, messes, lopsided pancakes, made-up Uno rules, and love. So much love. What did you think of Luna and Derek's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What's your score? Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to keep up with all our stories, and check out more emotional tales right here on the end screen.